welcome to the Alabama Perk Podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Wilson, and today my extra special guest is Jenny Brazington, the director of the Arizona Perk. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So I'm very excited that you're here today because one of the things that we do in both of our states are family-friendly walkthroughs, and you guys got those started and kicked those off and then trained me and my staff on how to do those as well. Can you tell me how you got started with the family-friendly walkthroughs?
Sure. They're really important, and the reason we got started is we know that creating a culture and a climate that welcomes all families is really the starting point for building parent engagement in schools. And so we wanted to develop a tool that schools would have, and so an assessment that we could give schools to say, here's where you're at, and here's maybe where you could go.
Right, and so the best part I think about the family-friendly walkthroughs is that we recognize that all schools are doing something well.
Absolutely, and it recognizes, just like you said, what schools are really excelling at, and we praise them for it. And so,
right, because we want them to keep doing that.
Absolutely,
yes.
And I think sometimes schools don't realize the things that they're doing well, and so we celebrate that with the schools.
And then I think that almost every school I've ever been in, really every school I've ever been, wants the children to be successful.
Absolutely.
Bottom line, every teacher, every principal, every school wants children to succeed. And I think what we have discovered in doing family-friendly walkthroughs in Alabama is sometimes they have barriers that prevent parents from being involved that are completely unintentional. And so they don't even realize that these things are getting in their way. And when they have fresh eyes come in from outside and take a look at things, it gives them a completely new perspective.
And you really hit the nail on the head. It's those fresh eyes. It's those fresh eyes because you're so entrenched. I mean, you're living there almost. I mean, the school, if you're working in it, it's your home away from home. And so it becomes acceptable for you. And so you don't realize what somebody else is seeing when they walk in. And so, sure, an administrator or teacher can take our tools and do the assessment, but sometimes you overlook things because you say, oh yeah, we do that. And so you really need somebody from the outside to come in and assess.
One of the things I've noticed, let's say, first of all, that the family-friendly walkthrough is very comprehensive, and it's not just the physical environment of the building.
No, absolutely not. We look at not only the physical environment, but we interview the administrator, we interview teachers, we interview parents, we look at the website, we review documents, we do shopper phone calls to look at the customer service that is being provided. So it's really a very comprehensive tool.
Right. So one of the first things I notice when I go to the school usually is the front door. And sometimes that's hard because
you can't find it.
Occasionally you can't find it. I was in a school in Walker County in Alabama, a fantastic school, and they have some really amazing things going on there with outdoor classrooms and gardens that the students are participating in. But when you walk up to the building, the parking lot is bare. There's no marked signs for, parents park here. There's nothing. And then when you go to the front of the building, they have two doors, one on each end, and they look exactly the same. So you don't know which one is the office door and which one's the front door. And they don't think about that because they go to school every day and they always walk in the front door and they know exactly where it is. But parents who hadn't been to their school before, or me, had no idea.
I know when we visit high schools are intimidating for me because they're big. And so you park and then you're sort of walking around going, where do I go? Where's the office? And you sort of walk from building to building, and then you become even more intimidated because you're not part of that culture at that school. And I'm an educator, and so if I'm feeling that way, can you imagine a parent who maybe doesn't speak the language? I mean, I think we have to look at it from those eyes sometimes.
Right, and then also not just the physical part, another area where we often find schools need a little bit more help is with their documents. Because a lot of times they use acronyms and don't even think about it. It's so common, but parents have no idea what NCLB might mean or AYP. So the document review is a big part of it.
Huge, and also the documents and also the website, because lots of times what we write in our documents, it gets put on the website.
Right.
And so we just sometimes upload that information and we think, looks great to us, and then we see it on the website and we're like, are parents really going to get that?
Yeah.
and no, or information's not updated. And so absolutely, it's a great assessment tool. I think the other piece that's really important is that when we created this tool, we were really mindful to link this back to those national standards. And so
Right.
those indicators, those national standards, those indicators are welcoming and communication and information sharing and participation. So they weren't ideas that people wouldn't hear about. So when we write these recommendations, they're in those 4 areas.
Right, right. And so let's talk a little bit about what happens after we do the walkthroughs.
We collect all the data, and then we write a report, and we actually give schools their scores. And so they're really assessed in those 4 areas that I just mentioned, aligned to those national standards. So there's a score in communication, there's a score in information sharing, a score in participation, and a score in welcoming. And then we write strategies to help schools improve, if necessary, in those areas.
And I think one of the things I like the most about the whole process that we got from you and we're doing in Alabama now too, is that none of this is a surprise to the schools. I mean, we don't go into schools where principals don't want us to come
Absolutely
in, because
not.
we realize that principals are often gatekeepers, and they have to want to make the
Sure.
changes or the changes will never occur. But the principals know before we even get there exactly what we're going to be looking for.
Absolutely. And if principals want to share that information with the schools, with their staff, absolutely. It's not a big surprise. So if you want to go ahead and make some changes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Right, because ultimately what we're after is making schools have more family-friendly, welcoming cultures and climates for all families. And so if they want to do that before we get there, fantastic.
Absolutely, which we know will lead to increases in student achievement. So
Right.
absolutely. And then we follow back up with those schools to see what strategies have you implemented? Have you put those strategies in your school improvement plan? And we walk schools through that process to help them with that. Have you shared this information back with your PTA or PTO? Have you shared this at a staff meeting?
Right, and that's a huge part of it too, because we're not just talking about the information sharing before we get there. Once you get that report in your hand, we want to know that you're going to share that with everyone afterwards as well.
Right, because what good is a report if it just goes to the administrator and then nothing's done with it? I mean, remember, this is a comprehensive assessment, so everyone is taking part. It's like a 360 evaluation. So administrator, teachers, parents, they're all taking part. And so if you don't go back and then share this information, it's almost like, so why did I do it in the first place? And so you really have an obligation to then go back and say, let's celebrate the things that the PERC team or whoever came in noticed about our school. Let's celebrate that. And then let's find an area that we can work on this year to improve as a group.
Absolutely, that is so, it is critical that everybody take part in not just owning the success, but also be a part of the solution when they find that there are things that aren't going well.
Yeah, we're really excited, and we hope to continue to do more of these and share this information with others.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
I loved it. I'd be happy to do it again.
It was the best one ever.
Thank you.
Thank you.